Forget the map. This is where the world actually ends. Where the land unravels, just giving up to the wind and the freezing water. This is Patagonia, the bottom of the world. If Patagonia was the frontier, this is where nature makes its final, absolute and unapologetic stand. The continent has narrowed down to its final frayed point. The land here doesn't just narrow, it shatters. Mountains sink into the sea. This is it. This shattered southern edge is Tierra del Fuego, the infamous Land of Fire. But that name is a cruel joke. There's no fire here, only the raw elements, ice, hyper-cold water, and a relentless, non-stop wind that simply never rests. To understand the name, we jump back to 1520 and the very first Europeans to pass these treacherous shores, Ferdinand Magellan and his exhausted crew. Fighting their way through the cold, blinding mist of the strait that now bears his name. They witnessed it, thousands of tiny, defiant lights flickering across the darkness. Bonfires lit by local peoples. And even this archipelago is still physically split between Chile and Argentina. A scar left by the invisible lines of history and political rivalry. The landscape is sharply split. Chilean Patagonia's wild fjords and glaciers against Argentina's brutal southernmost province. Peat bogs and windswept grasslands stretch toward jagged mountains. Even the twisted beech forests seem to writhe and contort under the relentless, perpetual wind. And nestled deep within this extremity stands Ushuaia, the true last city before the literal end of the world. It started simply, an Anglican missionary outpost in the late 1800s, built right among the native Yagan people. It later became a penal colony, Argentina's stark answer to Siberia. The Argentine government calculated that prisoners sent this far south would never attempt to escape. They were absolutely correct. The land itself was the prison. The crushing cold, the dense forests, the endless distance, those were the invisible, inescapable walls. The very convicts who were exiled here were forced to cut the timber and build the city's docks and railways. The prisoners who once tried to escape this place ended up making it livable. Ushuaia isn't just south, it's truly disconnected. Buenos Aires is nearly 2,000 miles away. Antarctica, however, feels like it's just across the water. But like everything in this part of the world, Ushuaia didn't just evolve, it transformed. What once was exile turned into attraction. The end of the world became a destination. If Ushuaia is the heart of this world's end, then the Beagle Channel is its bloodstream. A long, cold passage between Argentina and Chile that stretches along the southern edge of Tierra del Fuego. The channel takes its name from HMS Beagle, the ship that carried a young Charles Darwin through these waters in the 1830s. It runs about 150 miles from east to west, connecting the Atlantic and the Pacific through a maze of islands and coves. Small boats navigate around rocky outcrops crowded with sea lions, their sleek bodies glistening in the weak sun. They bark and fight for space, unbothered by the passing vessels. To the west, the channel disappears into a labyrinth of fjords. Out there, glaciers spill their rugged tongues right into ice-cold waters. Places like this remind us how small we are and how vast the world can be when you finally run out of road. Deep within the Beagle Channel, a lonely, defiant lighthouse juts out from a rocky outcrop, precisely 5 nautical miles east of Ushuaia. Named Les Éclaireurs, the Scouts in French. This title was given to the rugged island chain by the region's early, ambitious explorers. Completed in 1920, the iconic tower replaced a smaller, cruder beacon once used by Argentine naval expeditions. Yet, L'Éclaireur is the famous imposter. It is the lighthouse millions wrongly assume is the mythical lighthouse at the end of the world, popularized by Jules Verne's iconic 1905 novel. In reality, that true title belongs to San Juan de Salve Lighthouse, located on a remote island significantly farther east. At the furthest reaches of the Beagle Channel, Martillo Island holds one of the most remarkable, southernmost penguin colonies on Earth. Isla Martillo, as the Spanish call it, forms a vital part of Estancia Habiton. Founded in 1886, this ranch remains the oldest, continuously operating property in Tierra del Fuego. For decades, the island was nothing more than an isolated, frozen outpost, only ever disturbed by a few local fishermen. Then, everything changed. The penguins arrived. Every October, as the Patagonian spring melts the hard frost and the daylight stretches, thousands of Magellanic penguins begin their pilgrimage, waddling ashore to nest. The colony numbers around 3,000 breeding pairs, and though most will migrate north by late March, some remain year-round. But the island's dynamic is always shifting. Over time, other unexpected species have joined the massive colony. Gentoo penguins, instantly recognized by their striking orange bills and white headbands, have established their own, smaller colony. This spectacle is a living sign of how Patagonia's delicate ecosystem keeps shifting in response to the changing climate and warmer currents. Leaving the sheltered Beagle Channel, the sea violently tears open, its character morphing from calm to chaotic. The calm waters vanish, replaced by the Drake Passage, infamously one of the world's roughest stretches of ocean. It is a place of ceaseless, powerful winds and violently unpredictable weather. From the mountainous swells, the dark, menacing silhouette of Cape Horn emerges, challenging the horizon. The surrounding ocean is a critical point for global shipping, but also notoriously dangerous, earning the Cape a stark reputation as a graveyard of ships. The true, documented history begins not with Magellan, but with the Dutch navigators Jacob Lemaire and Willem Schouten, who first successfully rounded the Cape in 1616. From that point onward, Cape Horn forged itself as an essential, treacherous passage for European trade ships, connecting the Atlantic and Pacific. Generations of sailors lived in dread of the Cape, knowing its sudden, monstrous storms and utterly unpredictable currents could devour their vessels in minutes. Even today, commercial vessels approach it with the utmost caution. Back on the mainland, just north of Ushuaia, a narrow, winding trail vanishes into the snow-capped peaks. There, hidden away, lies Laguna Esmeralda, the Emerald Lake. True to its name, it glows in impossible, vivid shades of turquoise. The color is unbelievable. Not just green, not just blue, but a shade so vivid it almost doesn't belong in nature. Under the midday sun, the surface gleams like flawless glass. But when the clouds roll in, the gray hues deepen, suggesting some ancient secret is guarded beneath the frigid waters. At its far end, the Ojo del Albino glacier crashes down between two cliffs, relentlessly feeding the lake with year-round meltwater. And that's where the color comes from. It is the glacial silt, a fine, powder-like rock suspended in the water, scattering light into that electric hue. It looks like a painter's impossible palette, a masterpiece left entirely untouched by human hands. About 20 miles northeast of Punta Arenas, in the heart of the strait, sits the massive penguin sanctuary, Isla Magdalena. Here, the sheer number of seabirds, tens of thousands, transforms the landscape into a living, breathing thing. In spring, around October, they begin their massive annual return from months spent hunting at sea. By the peak of December, the island is completely overrun, supporting more than 60,000 breeding pairs. Unlike Martillo Island, Isla Magdalena is almost exclusively Magellanic territory. From the moment your boat approaches the island, you see them everywhere, scattered across the slopes, crossing the path, diving into the sea. There are no enclosures, no barriers. Only a marked, narrow trail cuts directly through one of the densest penguin colonies on Earth. The low, protective dunes and the hardy Patagonian grasses provide essential shelter from the punishing wind and persistent predators. From the east, La Magdalena. The Strait of Melon threads south through a maze of fjords and peninsulas that make up the southern tip of Chile. On the shores of one of them, the Ultima Esperanza Sound, lies Puerto Natales, a small port town surrounded by mountains. The name Last Hope was given to the fjord by a Spanish explorer who had nearly run out of both supplies and luck while searching for a passage north. He didn't find it, but the name stuck, fitting for a place that feels like both an ending and a beginning. Puerto Natales was officially founded in 1911, but its history reaches back to the late 19th century, when settlers began arriving to raise sheep. The nearby plains proved perfect for grazing, and the region quickly became part of the booming Patagonian wool industry. British, Croatian, and Chilean settlers established estancias, vast sheep ranches that still define much of the surrounding countryside. The waterfront is the heart of the town. From the pier, you can see snow-dusted peaks rising beyond the sound. This is Torres del Paine National Park, reigning as one of South America's most spectacular and brutal wilderness areas. Leaving Puerto Natales, the paved roads abruptly fade into gravel, and civilization slowly dissolves behind you. What opens ahead is a vast, challenging landscape of granite towers and colossal glaciers. They spill relentlessly from the southern Patagonian ice field, the third largest ice mass on Earth. The name Paine comes from the indigenous Tehuelche word for blue. And indeed, everything here seems drenched in that single, commanding color. The lakes, the mountains, even the shadows. At the park's brutal heart stand its most famous features: the towering Torres del Paine and the striking Cuernos del Paine. Massive rock formations sculpted by ice over 12 million years. The Torres, three colossal vertical granite spires reaching over 9,000 feet, are constantly shrouded and unveiled by fast-moving clouds. Nearby, the Cuernos, with their dark sedimentary caps resting on pale granite bases, showcase the dramatic geological layering that makes this range truly unique. Despite its remoteness, The park attracts hundreds of thousands of visitors each year. The weather here is violently capricious. A relentless mix of rain, snow, and brilliant sunlight can all assault you within a single, brutal hour. But that volatility is its core character. Torres del Paine doesn't promise comfort. It promises a fierce perspective, showing how a landscape can be both punishingly harsh and exquisitely delicate. Heading north, the horizon gets dominated by a jagged shark-tooth silhouette, Mount Fitz Roy. And resting at its feet, El Chaltén, Argentina's undisputed trekking capital. But this town wasn't built for leisure. Founded in 1985, El Chaltén was born as a strategic geopolitical claim, a desperate foothold in a border dispute with Chile. Today, however, the only battles fought here are by climbers, chasing the perfect summit. Above it all looms the Granite King. The native Tehuelche people named it Chaltén, the Smoking Mountain. Not because of fire or lava, but because the peak is violently snagged by clouds, creating a permanent illusion of smoke. At over 11,000 feet, it isn't the Andes' highest, yet it commands a terrifying reverence. It is a cathedral of rock. The trail starts right at civilization's edge, winding through twisted lenga forests. But be warned, this landscape does not bend to human schedules. Blue skies can turn to blinding snow in a heartbeat. Fitz Roy decides if you see it. Most days, it refuses. Every blister, every freezing gust of wind is instantly forgotten. In southern Chile, where ocean and rainforest meet beneath drifting fog, lies an island caught between dream and memory. Though just a few kilometers from the mainland, Chiloé feels like it belongs to another realm, soft, damp, and veiled in moss and myth. Who would imagine that, in one of the rainiest places in Chile? More than 70 handmade wooden churches rise from the mist, so unique that UNESCO had to take note. These churches are unlike any others, curved rooftops like ocean swells, shingled walls shaped like fish scales, painted in pastel creams, duck egg blue, and lilac. Believe it or not, local carpenters built them using thousand-year-old Alurs wood, all without a single iron nail. Beyond the churches, Chiloé is known for its stilt houses by the sea, palafitos, where half the home floats in the fog and the other half reflects on still water. In Castro, the island's capital, many old palafitos have been transformed into cafes, boutique hotels, and cozy seafood taverns hugging the bay. But Chiloé is not just for architecture or cuisine. It is a land of legends, where stories are whispered through the forest mist. Children here grow up hearing tales of Trauco, a forest dwarf with a gaze said to render women helpless. Out at sea, fishermen speak of La Pincoya, a golden-haired water spirit whose dance foretells whether the fishing season will thrive or fail. And on foggy nights, some swear they've seen Kalush, the glowing ghost ship drifting silently through the bays, carrying souls and sorcerers. Chiloé was once the last stronghold of the Spanish crown in Chile, refusing to surrender until 1826. Isolated for centuries, the island cultivated its own unique culture, where Catholicism merged with the ancient beliefs of the Huilish people. During festivals, wooden crosses are carried through fishing villages soaked in fog, while inside homes, quiet ceremonies call for rain, good harvests, and protection for loved ones. Here, the Chiloé people believe in a world where the visible and invisible intertwine, where every gust of wind and mountain stream holds a spirit. Local shamans, known as Machi, are both spiritual healers and guardians of the land. Have you ever tasted curanto, a traditional feast of shellfish, meat, and potatoes, slow steamed in a pit dug into the earth, covered with nauka leaves? It's more than food, it's a ritual, a moment of waiting and sharing, where each mussel, each potato seems to absorb the soul of the sea and forest steam. On mist-covered hills, farmers grow ancestral potatoes, with hundreds of native varieties found nowhere else but here. The island's ecosystem is remarkably rich. Humboldt penguins, Chimango caracara bird, and even the world's smallest deer, the pudu, all call Chiloé home. Some say Chiloé is an island that keeps its secrets, and its forests hold mysteries that refuse to vanish. Deep within its evergreen forests, it's said that sorcerers still perform secret rituals in hidden caves. These ceremonies, called machitun, summon spirits, heal the sick, and even control the weather. Guarding the cave is the Invunchi, a deformed being born of ancient spells, whose twisted body ensures that no outsider learns the island's secrets. Only the chosen ever witness these midnight rites.